What's going on, guys? Sheldon Evans here, and today I'm going to show you some of the gear and the lenses that I use at a wedding. Now, I'm not saying that these are the ultimate lenses and everything that you need at a wedding, but this is what I use and what I personally use. It's completely up to you, and I know we've gotten past the point where the gear doesn't make the photographer, but the number one question I get asked is what gear I use. So that's what we're going to do. The most important thing to focus on is, does your gear help you tell the story? Does it help you create what you want to create? For weddings, exactly what this video is about. Are you going to take portraits of the bride at 16mm? Maybe not, because she's going to look all distorted and weird. Or maybe that's what you're going for. If that's what you're going for, then that's what you need to do. So I'm going to show you what I started out with. 50mm 1.8. This is the lens to go to. Everyone starts out with this lens. It's the best lens ever. Nifty 50, fantastic plastic. This is the lens that you want. Canon makes 3 versions of this. They've got this 1.8, 1.4, and a 1.2, which I don't have. I've got 2 of these. One of them is on the camera that you're watching at the moment. And the reason I have the 51.4 as well as that one is it's quite noisy. It's dirt cheap. You can probably get these for about $100. They're crazy cheap, although they're a bit noisy and cheaply made, obviously. But the 50mm 1.4 is probably the best. 50mm 1.4 is great, but I still use the 1.8. I just cannot seem to get this one to focus properly. I don't know if I've got a bad copy. I've tried 2 of them, so one other one, and it just won't focus. I've tried micro adjustments, so you can actually micro adjust your lens so that it works perfectly with your camera. Every camera and lens combo can be different. They can't all be perfect. So inside Canon cameras, you can actually adjust the focus, and that might work. But even after micro adjustments, I just can't get this one to focus. I shoot with Canon gear. There's no real specific reason why I shoot with Canon. I started out with Canon. My first camera was Canon. I upgraded to another Canon. That's probably just why. I've shot with Nikon recently, and I've shot with Fuji. I still prefer Canon because I can use it with my eyes closed. It's just great. It's stupid sharp. I shoot with the Canon 60, which is the one that I'm using to shoot this at the moment. And the reason I like the 60 is because it's just small enough for my hands. And it's not heavy, and it's just great. It's the perfect full frame camera in my eyes. So if you want one of those, get one. Next up, we have the Canon 85mm 1.8. This lens is also just good. The reason I've got the 1.8 and not the L series as well is because I'm super rough with my gear and stuff breaks often. I guess, oh, that nearly broke. I think I broke it. No, it's fine. Okay. Break stuff, I kick it. I've kicked a lens across a wedding reception. I break stuff. So buying gear that's a little bit cheaper is a lot easier if you have to buy it over and over and over again, as you saw with the 50mm. Now, the Canon 85 1.8 is really good for portraits. I think it's the ultimate portrait lens. The 85 is just long enough that the compression makes your features flattering. It flatters you. It's a really, really good portrait lens. And you can also use it for standing a bit further back if you really don't want to be invasive. When I started out in wedding photography, I would always shoot on really long lenses so that I didn't have to get close because it was uncomfortable for me. I thought it would make the people that I'm taking photos of uncomfortable, but it really didn't. So I've started slowly shooting wider and wider and wider, getting really close into the action. But if you're just starting out, you might feel uncomfortable with that as well. So going for a longer lens might work. The next lens is the Canon 135 f2. This lens is just a beast. It is also massive and hefty. It's got weight to it. This lens is really, really good for standing back and getting candid moments and really focusing in and isolating your subject. It really, really helps with that. Just look, wow, I really cannot see anything through there. But this lens is just great. You might prefer a Canon 70-200, so that range gives you a good amount of zoom. So you've got a little bit wider and much more telephoto version. The reason I prefer that is because it's a prime lens. So at f2, it is sharp. It's an L lens as well. The 70-200 is also an incredible lens. It's probably one of Canon's best lenses, if not the best. It's also just too big for me. I like lenses that are smaller and that I can carry around and just really don't break my spine. Okay, so it's time for the ultimate lens. The 24-70. I've got the Tamron version. I rented the Canon version and I rented the Tamron version. and I ended up going with this one because it was just sharp, it's crazy fast, and it just nails focus all the time. You can use it in so many situations. It's probably on my camera 99, if not 100% of the time. I never used to be a fan of zoom lenses because I thought it made you lazy, so that you didn't have to move, you could just zoom in. Strangely enough, this lens is pretty much always at 35mm. If you go into Lightroom, you can actually check what focal length the majority of the images are taken at, and mine's 35. So 35mm might be the lens that I get next. I'm a fan of cropping, so I shoot at 35 and I crop in post if I really have to. This Tamron lens has been through it all. It's been dropped in the ocean, it's been dropped in sand, I think it may still have, it's kind of rough, it may still have some sand inside of it. The front element is slightly scratched, but that's fine. If you've got some scratches on the front of your lens, I've noticed that that never really is a serious issue for me, because it focuses past it, I don't know, and you really don't see it in your images. As I said in the beginning, the lens that you use has to be the one that you want to tell the story with, or how you see the story, or what you envision the story to be, and how you want to tell the story. For me, the 24-70 works best because at 35mm, when I lock it there, it's pretty much always there, as I said. At 35mm, that's how I feel as if I'm a person in the action at weddings. I don't always use this lens for everything else, but at weddings, it's the most important for me. I want my images to feel as if I'm someone that was in that scene when that moment happened, and I feel 35mm is just the perfect focal length for that, because 35mm is actually what our vision is very close to. I think, I should check that. But yeah, so that's why I like 35 quite a bit. Moving on from lenses, I thought I'd throw in a few other essential pieces of gear that I use at a wedding that you sort of can live without, but are also recommended. Speed lights. These are great. So I use the Yongnuo speed lights. I'll actually link to everything that I've mentioned in this video in the description of this, so that if you guys want to put a kit together, you can do that. These are cheap. I've got a ton of them. They run off batteries and they're just great. They've upgraded these speed lights quite a lot in recent years. One of the cool features is they can all be wirelessly controlled with this, the Yongnuo YN560TX flash controller. This thing, you can actually turn it on and you can sync your speed lights with this and control their power wirelessly from this. The cool thing about that is the majority of the time when I'm using speed lights is at night during the reception. Say everyone's having dinner, it's quite dark, the DJ is like, nope, no lights for you guys, we're eating in the dark tonight. So I set up speed lights around the reception room. I could be on one side of the reception, a speed light could be a couple meters away from me and quite a distance. I can't run there and change the settings fast enough and then come back to be able to capture a moment if it's too bright or overexposed or something's not working. With the controller, you can actually wirelessly control everything and you'll never have to worry about that ever again. Something else that's pretty cool is this. This is known as a filter. In this case, an ND filter. An ND filter, it cuts out stops of light. This is a 3-stop ND filter. So if you put this on the front of your lens, your scene is going to be 3 stops darker. The reason this is important to me is if you want to shoot wide open, especially with more expensive lenses, so like the Canon 50mm 1.2. If you want to shoot at 1.2, to shoot out in the bright daylight, it's going to be very, very difficult to shoot wide open because there's just going to be too much light coming in the lens. So if you put one of these on the front of that bad boy, you can cut out light and shoot wide open in those smooth, creamy backgrounds if that's what you want. The thing with filters is you can't just buy any filter. If you're buying a cheap filter, it's going to really impact the quality of your lens. You spend so much money on lenses, why not get something that's more expensive? You're going to be putting a cheap piece of glass on this expensive piece of glass that you've just purchased. It's in front, you're downgrading the quality of the lens. Buy good quality filters. Another filter you might want is a polarizing filter, a UV filter, which really helps as well. It also helps protect the front element of the glass if you don't want it to get scratched or broken or anything like that. I've actually dropped a lens face down with UV filter on the front. The UV filter smashed and the lens was great. It might just be a bit of insurance to like protect your lenses. So guys, that's pretty much what I use mainly for weddings. If you have any questions, ask me, comment below, comment on my Instagram, send me a message. I will answer you as best as I can. I'll link my Instagram here. Just message me there and we can go that. If you have any ideas or questions that you'd like me to make another video on, let me know. I'm going to be making a lot more of these in the future. Cheers guys.